Hey, hello my friends, this is Maltenan for maltenan.com, and today we're gonna take a look at Particular 2. How exciting is that? Well, I gotta tell you, it's just great. It's smashing, superb, outstanding, swell, nifty, dandy, marvelous, terrific, groovy, peachy, wonderful, fantastic, and simply brilliant. Actually, there are more new features than I could find synonyms for the word great, so without further ado, let's just dive in. We're gonna create a few small projects, and actually we're gonna start off by creating the oldest trick in the book, which is light streaks. So here I am in my After Effects, and I'm gonna create a new comp called light streaks. And right off the bat, we've got like 3 or 4 new features that I want to show you. So let's just go ahead and apply Particular. And this is the default configuration, of course. So I just go ahead and change the emitter, go to velocity 0, because I want all the particles to be at the same place, velocity random 0, velocity dispersion 0, and velocity from motion 0. We can close this down now and go down to the particle. And here's when the fun starts. We've got a few new particle types, and the first one is called streaklet, and this one is specifically designed for doing light streaks. So let's just take a look at that. We can't really see anything yet, but if I'm gonna hide it and just blow the particle up in size, you're gonna see how it looks. And this is basically the shape that we're gonna use for our light streaks. And we've got even settings for this streaklet. We've got like random seeds, so you can see those are generated. Each one is unique. And we've got number of streaks, so we can increase it, decrease it, and of course the size as well. We're gonna leave it like that, for example. That's fine. And how long is our composition? We want the life of the particles to be as long as our composition. Okay, it's 12 seconds, so let's just say 13, just in case. And we're gonna use a light as an emitter for this effect. So I'm gonna create a new light, call it emitter. Emitter 1, it's gonna be a point light, like that. Let's just take a look where it is. Okay, let's put it in the middle of our comp. So that would be right, and in 0, because that matches up with our particular exactly. As you can see, everything's fine. That's right. So let's just wiggle this. Wiggle what, like half times a second in a radius of maybe 500. Okay, and now we're just gonna change the emitter type to lights. And okay, see, this is working as expected. Well, you can definitely change the size of the particle, obviously. Okay, but something is wrong. We gotta change the emitter size to 0, and that way, okay, that's much better. And increase the number of particles. That's right. We're gonna change the opacity to about 50, or maybe less, 20, and change the transfer mode to add. Okay, that looks fine. And okay, everything works as expected. You know what, maybe I'll just change the life of the particle to something small, like 1. That way, okay, that's better. And we're gonna go to our opacity over life. That's right. And do it like that. Very nice. And the same with size over life. Maybe let's do it linear like that. Okay. Okay, very cool. So if you haven't know how to do that, now you know. But this is still nothing new, except for the streaklet, right? But you could easily do that with a custom particle, right? So nothing exciting so far. Look what happens when I'm going to change the amount of wiggling. And this was a common problem with Particular 1 or 1.5. and I stress was, because it's not a problem anymore. Let's just type in 3 and see how edgy, how blocky the motion path is. You know what, maybe I'll just decrease the range. Now you can see this better. So this was a huge problem, right? I can increase the amount of particles to fill the gaps in, but still this is pretty blocky. And this is where position subframe comes in handy. And from my experience, using 10 times linear is just as good as any other, but those two calculate really slowly. So 10 times linear is usually going to be fine for you, so keep that in mind. And just take a look. It's amazing. It's just great. I can even change the length of the particle maybe to half a second or something. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so here we go. First new feature, actually 2 new features, including the streetlet. But there's more. You know that we are using a light, right, as the emitter. So how about making that light, casting light onto our particles? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, with Particular 2, you can do that. We go to the shading options and we turn the shading on. Doesn't seem to do much yet, but we can simply change the range like that, natural distance. And this is, take a look, we've got light fall off, we've got natural and lux or non-AE. The difference between After Effects light and Trapcode Lux are that the After Effects light do not have any fall off. They do have a cone feather, right, which feathers out the light intensity on the sides, but it doesn't fade it out depending on the distance. So no matter how far you're gonna put your light, it's still gonna light up the layers that are in front of it, which really doesn't happen in nature. And here in Particular 2, it actually happens. So you can use natural lux to achieve that. And let's just take a look. Okay, this is cool. This is cool. Let's change the color of the light to maybe blue or something like that. And change the color of our particles as well to a bluish something. Okay, that looks nice. Light intensity, see, we can even change that. Wow, it's amazing. Okay, let's just see how that looks. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, sweet. We can go back to 1 and increase the light of the particle. Actually, I showed you everything I wanted to show you in this simple example, but it's just so fun to play with those parameters that I just can't help myself. Sorry, guys. It looks amazing. Okay, moving forward. So this is our light streaks, and I just gotta go to my sources, and I'm gonna show you another example. Here's a small photo that I have. Let's just put it in here, a little bit organizing. 0.2 dark alley. Okay. Here we've got a photo, and we're gonna create some atmosphere. So creating a new solid, comp size, and of course particular, right? Default settings, that's fine. I'm actually gonna go down to 50. Okay, that's fine. And you know what, let's choose one of the presets. I'm gonna choose Snowy Night. And now Particular gives us a warning that this preset was actually created with the earlier version, but that's totally fine. And okay, Snowy Night looks great. Let's add a new camera. Even better. And you know what, maybe I'll just move the camera back a little bit, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna add a new light, and it's gonna be a spotlight. Okay, here's a small trick. If you want to position your lights very accurately, this is what I usually do. I open up anchor point, and position, and I'm copying the position to the anchor point, and then I'm moving the Y down. And this light is pointing straight down, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, let's position it in here. And create a new solid. New solid. Okay, and let's just name those correctly. This is our snow, and this is going to be our Lux. And I'm gonna open up Trapcode Lux. Okay, looks great. Maybe I'm just gonna move it up a little bit, like that, and maybe change the color of the light. Let's pick something from the ground in here, so we have kind of a scene light. Okay, that's better. And once again, position an anchor point, and I'm gonna move the anchor point here, more or less, and position in here. Just turn off the controllers right now so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, that looks good. And we're gonna use Lux and this light to actually light up those snow particles, so watch out. Again, going to the shading options, turning on the shading, and the natural Lux is just fine. And now you see why, because if we would use After Effects lights, those particles in here would actually be as intense as those close to the light, which, like I said, doesn't happen in nature, so that's really, really a nice feature. And that's pretty much it. Just take a look. Looks great. Looks really great. You could actually achieve some of this in Particular 1.5 by using the Lux layer as the alpha matte for the snow, correct? We could just do this and leave the Lux on. But then again, you don't really see the snow that doesn't get light up like you did without the alpha matte, see? And this is what you would actually expect. If you don't want it, you can just simply choose the alpha matte. Okay, moving on. Next simple project. I've got like 4 of these, and you know, if you've seen my tutorials, you know that I can talk a lot and just on and on and on, so I'll try to keep this as short and as informative as possible. So let's just go ahead and create our new comp, and let's call this O3 micro particles, and this is gonna show my favorite new feature of Particular 2. Create new solid, apply Particular. Okay, that's fine. Again, let's just see, what do I want to do? Oh yes, I want to create a sphere of particles that's gonna be 500 by 500 by 500, for example. Again, I don't want the particles to move, so I'm zeroing out the velocity parameters, and that's fine. And I just emit a huge amount of particles at the beginning, like, I don't know, 1000, and then move 1 frame forward and make it 0. Oh, I can see that we can even pump this up, 5000. Okay, that's better. Let's put the camera in and see how that looks. Okay, it looks fine, but I don't really like that the particles are in the middle. I mean that there's so much of them, so I'm actually gonna do a small trick. Go to the physics, air, spherical field, and just pump it up a notch. 100 and radius. Okay, that's better. That's better. They're not actually on the sphere, not all of them at least, so that's kind of what I need. Okay, very good. Let's just reset the camera just to be sure. And I'm going to create a new custom particle. So let's just go ahead and create a custom particle. 400 by 400 should be fine. I know it's a little big for a particle, but we can handle that. And let's turn off the transparency and create new particle. Those are going to be letters, as you can see. I'm just going to position it in the middle. Okay, that's fine. I don't want any stroke around them. And I want to use some layer styles. Let's go inner shadow. And distance 0, size, okay, something like that. And a new layer style stroke. Make it grayish, something grayish like that. And again, new drop shadow. Here it is. Distance 0 and size something like that. I also want to get rid of the inner color, inner filling, so I'm going to go to blending options, advanced blending, and fill opacity to 0. Okay, that's exactly what I want. How many letters there are in the alphabet? Like 26 or something? Yeah, I guess so. So let's just go ahead and make this 26 frames, so that would be 1 second in my case. And let's add, oh, sorry, let's just add character offset. You don't see it, it's off screen, but I assure you it's there. And I'm gonna create a new keyframe here. Oops, I accidentally created 1 frame long composition. I want it to be 1 second long. Okay. Keyframe here and keyframe here. 25 or something. Yes, 25. We should have all the letters in the alphabet right now. Okay, that's good. Each of these letters is gonna be a particle in our micro particles comp. But as you can see, we got a small problem. The letters get off screen. They're not really aligned properly. So we can fix that using adjust kerning. And that way we assure that all the letters are exactly in the middle, because that was my alignment in the paragraph section. So that's actually very good. Okay, so this is our custom particles. Let's call this custom particle letters. And we're going back to micro particles. Let's create some background like that. This is our BG. These are particles. And here are our letters. So let's just go ahead. Particles, particle, and here it is. Textured polygon. You also see a new type which is called sprite, but this is actually the same as the custom particle in the previous version of Particular. So this is just a simple name change. And that's because we've got a new custom particle as well, which is called textured polygon. So to be able to distinguish those two, this name was changed from custom particle to sprite. And what I want to show you is the textured polygon, which just rocks. It's amazing. Okay. Textured polygon, texture, letters. And of course we can do the same thing as we could with the regular custom particle or so-called sprite from this version. And we can choose random still frame. That's right. So we've got a bunch of letters, but take a look what happens. You see it? You see it? Yes, the particles are actually 3D aware. So that means we can rotate the camera or rotate the particles themselves, and they're not always looking towards the camera, which is amazing. We've waited for this feature so long, and it's finally here. So I'm just gonna reset my camera again and just show you how cool that is. Let's twirl this down, and we've got a whole new section called rotation. So I'm just gonna say rotation random, I don't know, 100 or something. See how the letters get reoriented, and they're all 3D aware. They're not looking directly to the camera, which is awesome. Awesome. So let's just maybe add a little bit of rotation speed to those. Rotation speed on the X, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Let's see how that looks. Hope it's not too fast. Well, a little bit too fast, so maybe let's make it 0.2 and leave it like that. We can increase the size of the particles just a tiny bit. And maybe size random, 75%. Yeah, that's right, and we can actually scale them down just a little bit. Okay, that's cool. But that's not all. Let's just do something better. I'm gonna create a new text layer and call this particular 2. Whoa, this is a huge piece of text. 20. Okay, increase it. Let's make it like that. Okay, looks fine. And we're gonna play a little bit with the text animators. Let's enable per character 3D and animate position. Here we go. And I want to change the range selector to a wiggly selector. I'm not gonna go deep into why I'm doing the things I'm doing, you know, outside of particular, because this is probably going to be a long tutorial anyway, so just bear with me. Wiggly selector, wiggle per second 0, and that way it doesn't wiggle actually, so I can offset the letters on the Z like that. Very nice. And now I need to put them back in place. I'm gonna use scale. Here we can turn off log dimensions. Okay. Okay, and now, whoa, that's wrong. I think we gotta go to more options and anchor point grouping all. That should fix it. Okay. Okay. Okay, more or less. This is cool. Now take a look at this. See what I'm trying to do? Sweet, huh? Okay, let's just play a little bit longer with this. That looks fine. We can actually add a little bit of blur. We do have the depth of field, but you know, the built-in depth of field in After Effects cameras is something that in my opinion still needs to be improved. So I'm just gonna fake it using the blur. Okay, that's good. And layer styles, inner shadow, just like we did before. Distance 0, opacity 50, and layer styles, drop shadow 25, distance 0. Okay, that's fine. See where I'm going with this? Really, really cool. I actually have this one build. It took some time to get the camera right and so on and so forth, so I'm just gonna switch over here and just take a look. camera flies in, and the letters assemble to this micro particles text. Pretty damn cool, huh? And there's also a new feature, another one, imagine that I want to show you. I'm just gonna get rid of the comp that we just made and the CP letters that we just made, and I'm gonna move this comp here. Okay, so this is how it looks. Camera flies in, the letters assemble, form a text or a super if you want to call it that, like that, and that's all fine. Another new thing in particular is that the option box is actually gone. The only thing we have is the light emitters and shadow LED, which is also a new feature, but I'm not going to cover it in this tutorial. So where are all the options like pre-run, random seed, and all that? Well, they're all in the emitter section, emission extras. We've got pre-run, we've got periodically random, and random seed. Everything is here, which is great because the parameters are now, more accessible, but also it allows us to use expressions. And yes, I'm excited about that. So what does it actually mean to you? Well, imagine that you've worked an hour on this animation, on this piece that we see here. And this is part of the promo that you're doing, and you need to put like a few supers with a different text and such. So how do we do that? Well, normally you would have to duplicate this, go in, change the random seed, and do all that stuff so that the particles are not in the same position each time you create a new text or something. So how do we actually do this? You want to have a unique animation each time you create it for a new text. Like right now it says microparticles. The next one could say particular 2. The next one could say Trapcode rules, or whatever. And you want all of these small particles to be repositioned each time you create a new animation. So normally you would have to duplicate the animation and create, change the random seed or offset the animation or do all those tricks that we all did, right? But not anymore. Thanks to those emission extras that are now accessible through expressions, we can actually automate this whole process, which I already did. I'm going to show you right now. This is the random seed that we're randomizing. And those two lines of text simply say set a seed random, which is a built-in seed random function in expressions, to be timeless. In other words, whatever the random is going to give us in here is going to be constant across all our comp, okay? So it doesn't generate a new random number on each frame as it normally does. So that's first. And the second thing is that the text in here is actually always exactly the same as our comp name, as you can see in here. So right now, the only thing we have to do to actually create a new text is to duplicate this comp, and let's just dive in, microparticles 2, or let's just call it Trapcode rules. Everything works fine. The only thing that you might need to adjust is, just the camera position, but that's just that simple. Just do it like that, and everything's fine. Even if the letters, overlap a little bit, it doesn't matter because it's supposed to be like that. So everything's cool. So you're excited? You're excited? Well, we're not done yet. Here comes the last example project that I prepared for you today. I'm just gonna take my MOV here that I've got prepared for this tutorial. It's just the, underwater scene made in After Effects, of course, but we're not gonna cover how I did that. And let's create a new layer, solid, okay, particular. And let's go down to the emitter, and again, set the velocities to 0, and make it a sphere, and make the sphere size 300 by 300 by 300, something like that. and set the particles per second to a high number, 600, and then move one frame forward and set it to 0, because I want my particles to stay in one place, just like that. Of course, I need to extend the life of the particle, so I go down to the particle section and make it 10 seconds, for example. I think I can actually make a little bit more of these. 700. Okay, let's just do a little bit of organizing. Let's call this comp 04, since it's a fourth example, salmon. And yes, I do mean the fish. Okay, so back to our particles. Everything seems to be going fine. Okay, very good. Let's just save the project and create a new light. And this is going to be our motion path. Motion path 1. And again, I'm going to do the same trick, which is positioning the light at the middle of the comp. So position, and it's going to be 400 by 200, 0 on the Z. And oh yeah, we can wiggle one time in the radius of 300. That should do it. Let's see. Okay, the light moves. Okay, very nice. And now let's just set the particles to follow our light. So physics, air, motion path 1. And right now they are following the light pretty well. What we can do is we can actually, since the light is wiggling, we can actually move the starting position of our particles to the starting position of the light. So let's just grab this and place it in here roughly, and that should match up more or less. Okay, that's better. What I want to do as well is to turn on the turbulence field. Yes, that's right, and affect position. So now as the particles move with the light, they kind of change position slightly. Okay. You know where I'm getting with this? I'm sure you do. Okay, I've got a really silly example. I want to show you a really silly project. I've got this fish in here and we're gonna animate it. Let's just make sure that the composition length is okay. Let's make it 8 seconds or so. And I'm gonna apply, no, I'm actually gonna use the puppet tool. Yeah, that should be fine. Something like that. Let's see how that works. Hey, I'm a fish. Okay, that's good. That's good, and we can actually wiggle this puppet pin 1, and let's wiggle it. Wiggle 1 time a second, maybe 20 pixels, something small, I guess, right? And let's see how that works out. Okay, 20 is obviously too much, so let's make it 10. Okay, good. And I think that we can also play with one of the other puppets. Pinpoints, maybe this one. Okay, yeah, this one's fine. Like, move it just a little bit. Wiggle 5 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Okay, seems fine, but I think we can make it a little bit faster. Fishes swim fast, not slowly and dynamic like this one. 3 times per second should do it. Okay, but maybe this one should go 4 times. So it's not as synchronized. Okay, that's better. Much better. Okay, let's say that's okay. And let's call this one custom particle fish, and move back here, put the fish in here, and set the custom particle. Go to particle section, set the particle to textured polygon again, and in the texture section we're gonna pick our fish and pick random frame and loop. Okay, size and size random 50. Okay, we can decrease the size, maybe 40. That should be fine. And here again, we can randomize it because I don't like how the particles are being set up. So I can actually go ahead and change the random seed. Okay, that's better. And doesn't look like like a bunch of fish swimming yet, but we can change that. We go to the particle section, rotation, and here's a new feature that you're gonna love: orient to motion path. And just take a look at that. Sweet, huh? So, of course the fishes are flat, but if you throw a little bit of motion blur on them, you could probably get away with this. I just wanted to show you something fun at the end. I could use like an arrow or something that is pointing to the direction that it's, following, but fishes? That's just crazy. Okay, and let's just maybe apply some three-tone effect to finish it off. Not the best motion graphic ever, but you get the point. This color, and for black we choose this one. Okay, maybe that's too much. Something like that. And let's see how that looks. Looks fun, looks great. Okay guys, so that's it for this tutorial. Once again, my name is Maltanen, and you've been watching some of the new features of Trapcode Particular 2. Actually, there are more than 30 new features. I haven't been able to find them all yet, but those are the ones that I've been most excited about. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to check out my website, www.maltanen.com, for more exciting free online video tutorials. Until next time, happy After Effecting!